Hello and welcome back to Toolbox Talks. I just want to do a quick shout out to a review that we have from Builder04. He left a review on Stitcher saying, great podcast for traders and contractors. It covers a lot of very important elements that's hard to find information on elsewhere. So thank you, Builder04. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. Now, today's episode is going to kick off the 4-part series that I'm doing with my co-host Ben Stainer. Ben has literally done pretty much everything within the trade-based business model. He built an absolute, at times he was up to, he had 65 guys, 40 trucks running. He was servicing the plumbing, electrical and building industry. He had an absolute empire. He's been smashed around the park with media before. He's now sold those businesses and he's pretty much just living low. He's just hanging out with his son and he's working on his property down the south coast. But he's got an amazing story and like a wealth of knowledge like I can't even begin to explain. So in this 4-part series, we're going to be covering off on a number of different topics. Firstly, we're going to talk about in episode 1, how not to overcapitalize and run a lean business. In the second episode, we're going to be talking about what it takes to build a $12 million business. And in the third episode, we're going to be talking about how to handle negative media. And then in the fourth and final episode, we're going to be talking about how to take money off the table. And Ben has actually dropped some absolute gold nuggets in that final episode there about not only how to take money off the table, but advice on how you can take money off the table and reinvest it. So look, you're going to love this episode. There is literally probably not a more qualified person to be speaking on these topics. So I just want to say thanks to Ben for co-hosting me on this series. And look, if you enjoy this series, please go right ahead and leave us a review, iTunes, Stitcher or Soundcloud. We'll read it out, as you've just heard, in upcoming episodes. And that's all from me. Let's dive right into episode 1.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Well, hello and welcome back to Toolbox Talks. My name is Matt Jones and today I'm joined by my co-host, Ben Stainer. Ben, how are you?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. Now, Ben, I've asked you to co-host us on this short series because you're one of the few people that I know that pretty much done the lot when it comes to having a trade-based business. I mean, you built an absolute empire and you've, as a result, I suppose, sold that. And now you've sort of gone into a bit of hiding, haven't you?
Yeah, I've pretty much completely got out of it other than doing a little bit of work here and there. But yeah, that's interesting.
I might just for the listeners, maybe a bit of a background. Do you want to give us a bit of a background on where you started and a bit of like your progression through to the business, like, all the different businesses that you ran and where you ended up and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I started work when I was 14. I made it halfway through year 9 and got out. Wanted to run a business, and then my father said, "Come and do an apprenticeship." So I did that, and then I took over his business at. I was 19 when I got my license, so I took over then. Yeah. Ran it the old school way for a fair while. And it was just me and one other guy that I had. And then I got it, and then I decided I wanted to grow it a bit, make a bit more money, got to about 10 guys. Then I moved down the coast, had a manager. I was working 2 days a fortnight, which was good, and the money was reasonable. Then I wanted to take over Australia. But yeah, so then we grew it to we went to 5-star, and then we went to about 65 staff. We had about 20 Jetta trucks on the road, electricians and plumbers and builders. I got my plumber's license, builder's license, and that sort of just naturally progressed because every time we broke something, we had to get an electrician in or get a builder in. So we thought we'll just start providing the service ourselves.
So you got to 65 staff?
Yeah.
Wow. That is taking over the country. Were you just in Sydney or were you all over the shop?
No, we were in Wollongong and Sydney.
Yeah.
When I got out of it and 2 other fellas took over, they went to Newcastle and Melbourne.
Yeah.
Which didn't really work out for them. But yeah, so I guess I used to have a map up on the boardroom of Australia of all the places where we wanted to go because if I could duplicate the same system
Yeah.
that I was using, that I didn't see any reason why I couldn't do it everywhere else.
Yeah. And how did that pan out?
It's difficult because once you get bigger, you seem to start at one end of the business and get that right, and then get yourself right round to the next part of all the other sections of the business, and then 2 weeks later, when you get back to the other one, they're still doing it the same. They've fallen back in their ways.
Okay.
So it's endless.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, we're gonna talk about a few specific topics in this series, and I suppose we brainstormed on this yesterday on the phone. But basically, we're going to talk about how to not overcapitalize and run a lean business. Then we're going to talk about what it takes to build a $12 million business. We're going to talk about how to handle negative media, and then we're going to talk about how you can actually take money off the table. Why have we decided to talk about these topics, Ben?
I don't know. You tell me. Well, the ones that you spoke about that you wanted to talk about. So
yeah, I mean, look, I think from my point of view, we've never had anybody on the show that's ever run a $12 million business. So I imagine a lot of our listeners out there would be pretty interested to hear how you did it, and some of the, I suppose, maybe without the bullshit, like, just want to hear, some of the problems that you had and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think a lot of people have these aspirations of dreams of running these mega empires, and then when the reality strikes home, it may not be as good as it sounds. But anyway, maybe we'll get into that a little bit more.
I can sort of answer that. Is that, I mean, when you've got lots of energy and you've got a vision, you'll do anything at the end of the day to get to that point. But then your priorities change later on, and a lot of time when you're running the business, you let the emotion side get into it, and you make mistakes when you should have maybe kept it smaller and made a lot more money just being smaller, because the whole idea of business is just to make money, and to me, and get out unless you got no life. You know what I mean? That's the end of the day.
Yeah, fair enough. I suppose one of the things that I'd like to ask you just before we dive into the first episode is really how did you learn the business side of things when you're a 14-year-old kid, you work with your father until you're 19, you took over his business. Like, where in that stage did you learn how to become a businessman?
Oh, to be honest, I was always selling things when I was a kid. Whether I was selling, I used to actually sell oranges from the back fence of people's properties and then go around the front with a bucket and try to sell it back to them. But so that's where it all started. But Dad taught me a lot of stuff. But Dad was very old school in the spectrum of where we are now in business and how people do things. And he was, born in the 30s, so coming through the Depression, and you did everything yourself. Like, we fixed the trucks. I spent my first year cutting rock and, how can I say, repairing trucks because I was good at it.
Yeah, right.
So in that, I learned how to do things lean and fix my own things, look for bargains. So if you want to talk about running a lean business, you go out and you get, there's people out there who teach you how to sell and whatnot. You do the reverse on the suppliers. So, even down to your FPOS machine, I was paying like a ridiculous amount compared to anybody else. I just told them that I was going to spend X amount of money, or so much was going to go through their machines. And they gave me this great rate, and every time they'd go to try to increase it, I'd say I'm going to shop around somewhere else.
Yeah, okay. Well, why don't we do that one before we dive too much further into the intro? Then we may as well just jump into this first episode. So, okay, Ben, let's talk about how to not overcapitalize and run lean. You just mentioned before, you dealt with a lot of suppliers, and you basically took it right down to that level. I suppose this is something that I think a lot of people probably don't understand completely. What is capital? What is overcapitalization? What are we actually talking about?
Well, when you buy an excavator that you might only use every second week, when you can go and hire one.
Right.
You know what I mean? It might cost you $40,000 new to buy, and you'll never get your money back. So, you either create the work for it so that it pays itself. To me, it's got to pay itself off in the first 12 months. And then if you're charging $600-700 every time you pull it out, that's $600-700 in your pocket after the first 12 months.
Yeah,
if you're not doing that, you might as well just hire it when you need it. So
I suppose that's more on, like, when we're talking about tangible, assets. What other things can you overcapitalize on? Staff.
I guess, yeah. Like, you ask a busy person, if you want to get something done, you ask a busy person to do it. You know that saying?
Yeah.
I guess you set the pace in your business. So the employees are always sort of pushing back and saying, "Oh, we don't have enough time, and we can't do this, and we can't do that." I think you need to be believing yourself enough, and not that. So, because sometimes you can doubt yourself, believe yourself enough to go, "No, well, look, you can do this in this certain amount of time, and we don't need that extra person. And how can we do it so we don't need to employ someone or buy that extra item or buy that extra piece of equipment and still get the job done?" Now, I think if you've got your business in that zone where people, I'm not talking about having people who are running around with their heads cut off and constantly making mistakes. I'm talking about that medium where you get them actually going and everybody's working so that the next person that comes into your business, say if a young guy comes in and sees what's going on, they don't do it all. They walk at a steady pace in everything they do.
Yep.
So it's important to set that role model with everybody, and you got to constantly question, why do you need that extra person? Because they will. They just naturally always want someone else to be in there to hold their hand, or or that new printer or that new computer or whatever. If you go back the old school way, what I was taught from your father, which my mistakes is I should have listened to more or thought of it, or stuck to that certain old way, rather than going out. When you get all this money, you just seem to spend more.
Right.
So I guess the answer is there's a happy medium between the old school way, which is a lot of good value in that, and the new school way where you've got everything in the greatest, you know?
That was, one of the questions I did want to ask you. What typically happens to a business that is overcapitalized? I know you mentioned, that yesterday that you went through a stage where you felt like you were. What happened?
Well, I did everything. So I did all the different jobs throughout the business, and then as we grew bigger and bigger, I had to get other people to come in and do, HR and dispatch and the call center, and then I had 2 guys in the factory servicing trucks and whatnot, and restocking, and you name it, you have someone for every position. The thing is, while you've got money, it's okay, and all this money's coming in, so you just seem to spend it rather than constantly asking the question, do we really need that person? Can we cut back on that? Because a lot of it's where you're saving, where you can make money, not only just value adding on jobs and getting the sales up.
Yeah.
So I think it's, whether it's business or even it's your personal life, the more money that you've got in your wallet, what do?
Yeah, you blow it.
Yeah, you blow it. So, and it comes easy come, easy go. So you've got to balance that and be constantly monitoring and being aware of it to make sure that you're getting a return on investment on every asset, whether it's an excavator or whether it's a HR person. You got to.
So is there like a formula that you used to follow to ensure that you got that right when you were, when you were making a lot of money and you knew you were making the money, but you also realized that you were spending too much? What's the metric there? Like, how do you define that?
Well, it's difficult because when I had about 10 to 20 guys, I made most of my money, and then I spent most of my money when I grew larger, paying for everybody else.
Huh.
So I guess if you got to break it down to individual, everybody needs to be measured on a weekly basis of what they cost and what they produce.
Right.
At the end of the day, and you've got to review that on a weekly basis.
And are we just talking technicians here? Or are we talking, administration? Like,
yeah, the call center, because they got to pull their weight. If you got someone who's, they might answer 60 phone calls a day, but their conversion rate might only be 20%.
Right.
So and then you might have someone else who might only answer 40 calls a day, but their conversion rate's 80% or 90%.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just conversion optimization, really.
Yeah. So, and when it's big, it's like I was saying before, it could be 2 weeks before you even get back around again and have another look.
Yeah.
Keep that accountability. It's a full-time job.
So, on that front, are there ways of reporting? Did you guys have ways of reporting that use technology where you could, it wasn't so manual? Like you could get
TSM.
Okay. What's TSM for the listeners?
It's a software program that measured the conversion rate for calls for that individual. And
it's a conversion rate, or was a conversion rate when that call turned into a job?
It's difficult because, they'll say, oh, no, that was just someone who, that was someone marketing something, selling something, you know what I mean?
Right.
But after a while, you get to work out, if they're consistently down or if someone's supervising and watching them, how they're talking to people on the phone, you put two and two together, you know what I mean? It's never completely accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I suppose it's a whole other kettle of fish that I suppose we could touch on that perhaps in the next episode, in what it takes to build a $12 million business. Maybe we'll talk about, training and, how you can, train your staff to, or optimize them to their best. I know you spent a lot of money with training your staff in the past. I know I actually came out and trained some of your staff back in the day. So I guess that's something as well that is, well, you know what, we'll come back to that in the next episode because I think that's quite important.
Yeah, I can talk about techs and their conversion rate and, what there's average job sale. And like we had the software did that too, there's probably a whole heap of new stuff out there now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you are overcapitalized, what are the effects that it has on the running of the business? Like, is it noticeable? Like, does it put pressure on different areas, your marketing, your sales, like you as a person?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all just funnels.
Well, if you're not watching your costs, then there might not be enough money coming in to cover them.
Yeah.
And if you go backward, $100,000 in a week.
Yeah.
And if you do that 4 weeks straight, there's 400,000.
Yeah.
So you're not.
Are they realistic numbers?
Yeah, that I've seen that happen.
Jesus.
So you've got to be, and it happens so quickly too. Like I think that's the thing with the smaller team. You've got, when I used to do it, I was answering the calls, going out and selling jobs when I had 10 guys. I had another guy who was supervising jobs, but I was doing the HR, I was doing the marketing. I wasn't doing the paperwork. My wife at the time was doing the paperwork, but I was doing everything. It'd take me 2 hours to drive half an hour, but I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But there was sacrifice in that. You're working from 4 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night.
Right. And like, I suppose, are there ways that if you had to go back and do that again, would there be systems or processes that you would build into that business model that would replace you in those areas? Like, could you outsource some of that stuff? Could you outsource your call answering? Could you outsource your, perhaps not your quoting, but, all that managerial stuff that you took on? Would there be things there that you think you could comfortably pass on to other people so they're not the be all and end all?
I personally like it in-house because I got, like, there's certain things like, your marketing design and things like that. I'd get a guy who did graphics and that, and that's, I did. But with me accounting, we had that much going in and out. I had someone in there.
Yeah, okay.
I had 3 or 4 girls doing it at one stage.
Yeah.
And it needed to be in-house so that, we knew what was going on.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But then at one stage, I did have a temporary guy as well when I was a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what level, and you got to weigh up the pros and cons on it. But I think I'd be more ruthless in everything I did.
Yeah.
And I would trust myself more, and I wouldn't be listening to employees who always tell you, they need this or they need that, or
Yeah.
In some ways I was probably too nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Other people would probably say different, but yeah, that's what I would do. I'd be ruthless, especially now because it's a lot harder now.
So if there were ways that, what would be the starting point, or say from a suggestion perspective here, like what could you say to people that, that are starting out in business or are currently even running a business? Where should they be the most strict in not overcapitalizing?
In all areas. I mean, you need a systematic. Well, first thing, if you've cut yourself and you got a small cut, and then you've been stabbed in the chest, what are you going to do?
Probably bleed out.
Well, no, you're going to stick your finger in your chest. That's not a cut, that's a hole.
Yeah.
So you'll attack your business like that. But really, all of it needs to be done on a periodic basis where you keep going around and you don't presume anything. That was probably one of the biggest things that I'm probably a little bit too trusting, and don't presume anything. You check everything.
Yeah. It's this is what we had we did a series. I don't know if you heard it a few weeks ago with Matt from Cube Consulting, and we were talking about pricing for profit, and it actually ties in quite closely to what you're saying there, like knowing what your expenses are and knowing exactly what your costs are so that you can be sure that what you're charging is covering all that. Like, so many people don't do that properly.
Yeah, big time.
Like, even down to, maybe your phone bill, or, putting petrol in the car, or your insurance and all that kind of stuff. Like, at the end of the day, that will all affect your bottom line.
Yeah, it's all, and I think you're going to cover it in another topic of like putting some money aside, but that should be factored in too, and everything's geared up around that, because why you're in business for?
Yeah, make money. All right, cool. Well, look, is there anything that you think we've missed?
Oh, there's heaps of things. 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to keep these episodes within 20 minutes just to make them to the point. But
how many minutes have we done now?
We're on about 20. But if there's anything important that you think we've missed, then let's address it, because that's what we're here for.
No, I think going back to the original point, and it depends on your age and what your parents are like and how old they were, but there's a lot to learn from the people that went through the Depression. So, and you got to have a mix, like you go on, everybody's, the style is now you don't have any money, you just go out and lease everything. That's not, what you find is it's not real growth. At the end of the day, you buy something with cash, you've got it, you own it, and you're making money out of it straight away, and you know that you can afford it. Yeah. So you're not living in this fake world of, it's organic growth. So if I wanted an excavator, you know what I would do? I'd go out and I'd go and sell, I'd value add to 10 jobs, and I'd go and buy myself an excavator. Yeah, right. So win the work and then get the machine. That's right. Yeah. And instead of just going, I'm hoping something's going to come along. Yeah. And it's really all in front of you, just presenting it that there's some work that needs to be done here. Yeah, wow. I think that's pretty powerful, actually. I mean, I know I've done that myself in times. You just, you need something, you go and get it, and then you sit back and think, why did I get that? Have I really sat down closely, figured out, if I can actually afford this? I think it's like you say, we just live in that society where it's so easy to overspend. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, it's in our face every day. Yeah. All right. Well, look, that was awesome, Ben. So thanks very much for your input on that topic of capitalisation. And I hope the listeners got something out of that. And if you did get something out of that, or if you got any questions, just fire them back in the show notes. You can leave comments down at the bottom of the page there. Or if you want to email through any questions you've got, then we'll get Ben back on the show to answer those questions. But other than that, no, that's great. So I think we'll wrap that episode up here, and we're going to come back shortly, and we're going to talk about what it takes to build a $12 million business. So stay tuned for that. So if you haven't already, head across to thesiteshed.com and register for our Toolbox Talks, where you'll be regularly sent great episodes just like this straight to your inbox, so you'll never miss one. If you want to join the community, you can head across to thesiteshed.com/members, where for a small monthly fee, you'll get access to regularly updated training material, as well as access to our forum, where you can mingle and collaborate with trade-based business owners just like you from all over the world. If you're enjoying this podcast, please head across to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us spread the word and reach the masses. Likewise, if you know anyone that might benefit from the content we create, then please go ahead and share this with them.
You've been listening to Toolbox Talks by The Site Shed. For more great content just like this, head across to thesiteshed.com and join the amazing community of savvy trade-based business owners.